The underground bunker was silent. It had been silent for 500 years. Deep beneath what was once called North America, the facility remained hidden from the aliens who now ruled Earth. Its walls were thick, made to last for 1,000 years. Its power system still worked, drawing energy from the planet's core. In the center of the main chamber stood a single pod. It looked like a metal coffin, covered in frost. Small lights blinked on its surface, green, yellow, red. The machine had waited patiently, counting the years until it was time. Today was that day. A series of clicks echoed through the empty room. Steam hissed from the pod's edges as the seal broke for the first time in 5 centuries. The lid rose, slowly, revealing the man inside. Jinha opened his eyes. His first breath was deep and strong. His muscles tensed as awareness returned. There was no weakness in his body, no stiffness from his long sleep. The technology that had preserved him was far beyond what humans had openly possessed when he volunteered for the Guardian Project. Jinha sat up and looked around the empty room. His mind was clear, his memories intact. He remembered the day they put him to sleep, the day the alien ships first appeared in Earth's skies. "System," he called out, his voice rough from disuse. "Status report." The room's lights brightened. A hologram appeared in the air before him, showing the familiar shape of Earth. But as the image zoomed in, Jinha's jaw tightened. The continents were the same, but everything else had changed. Massive alien structures covered much of the land. Great mining pits scarred the surface. The oceans had changed color. A flat, artificial voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Guardian Jinha, activation protocol initiated. Earth has been under alien occupation for 472 years, 3 months, 17 days. Human population reduced from 9.8 billion to approximately 18 million. Status, enslaved species. Planetary classification, resource world, K3291. Jinha stood from the pod, his bare feet touching the cold floor. He was tall for a human, his body perfectly proportioned. To a casual observer, he might have looked like an athlete in his prime. Only the strange patterns beneath his skin, faint lines that sometimes seemed to glow, hinted at what he truly was. "Show me the invaders," he ordered. The hologram changed to display a crystalline being with multiple limbs. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body semi-transparent and glittering with inner light. "The Vorn Collective," the system explained. "A crystalline hive species from the Andromeda Galaxy. They arrived in 2103 with a fleet of 317 ships. Earth's defenses fell within 6 months. The Vorn value Earth for its mineral resources and biological diversity. Humans are used primarily as labor." Jinha walked to a wall panel that slid open at his approach. Inside hung a simple black uniform. He dressed quickly, his movements efficient and precise. "Any resistance?" he asked. "Negative. Organized human resistance ended in 2157. Occasional, small rebellions occur but are quickly suppressed. The Vorn have superior technology and numbers. Humans are kept divided and uneducated." Jinha closed his eyes for a moment. 500 years. Everyone he had known was long dead. The world he had sworn to protect was transformed, but his mission remained. He had been Earth's last defense, the final guardian created when humanity first detected signals from the approaching Vorn fleet. The best scientists had worked in secret, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They had changed him, enhanced him, filled his blood with microscopic machines that could rebuild his body and sharpen his mind. He was their contingency plan if diplomacy failed. If conventional weapons failed, if everything failed, and everything had. "System, show me the nearest human settlement." The hologram shifted again, displaying a labor camp 50 miles to the east. Hundreds of small figures moved like ants, digging in a massive quarry under the watch of the crystalline Vorn. "Prepare the armory," Jinha said, rolling his shoulders, "and activate the training program. I need to make sure everything still works." A door opened on the far side of the room. Jinha walked through it into a large, empty chamber with high ceilings and reinforced walls. "Combat simulation level 10. he commanded. The air shimmered as holographic enemies appeared, perfect replicas of the Vorn. Jinha stood still, breathing deeply. Then he moved. To human eyes, he would have been a blur. His speed was impossible, his strength beyond what his frame suggested. The first holographic Vorn shattered as Jinha's fist connected with its center mass. He spun, kicked, leaped 20 feet into the air and came down on another enemy. As he fought, the lines beneath his skin began to glow more brightly. The nanites in his bloodstream were fully awake now, enhancing every aspect of his biology. His senses sharpened until he could hear the hum of electronics behind the walls. His muscles delivered power that could bend steel. His mind processed information at computer speeds. Jinha was not just a man. He was humanity's answer to extinction, their final weapon. When the last holographic Vorn fell, Jinha stood in the center of the room, barely breathing hard. System, prepare the scout vehicle, and give me all available information on Vorn weaknesses. The Vorn have few physical vulnerabilities, the system replied. Their crystalline structure resists most conventional weapons. However, analysis suggests they are susceptible to specific sonic frequencies and extreme temperature fluctuations. Jinha nodded. And their command structure? Hierarchical. Each regional group is controlled by an overseer. All overseers report to the planetary commander, currently located in what was once Beijing. Jinha walked to the armory where rows of weapons waited, some conventional, others experimental prototypes that had never been field-tested. He selected a few and strapped them to his body. One last question, he said. The other Guardian candidates were any successfully activated before the fall? There was a pause before the system answered. Negative. You were the only successful integration. The others did not survive the process. Jinha closed his eyes briefly. He had known the risks when he volunteered. The genetic modifications, the neural implants, the nanite colonies, they had killed dozens of candidates before him. He had been the lucky one, or perhaps the unlucky one, depending on how you looked at it. Now he was alone, the last guardian of a conquered Earth. Prepare the exit tunnel, he ordered. It's time to remind these invaders why they should have killed us all when they had the chance. The floor opened, revealing a narrow transport tube that would take him to the surface. Jinha stepped onto the platform and checked his weapons one last time. Guardian protocol is now active, the system announced. Primary directive, liberate Earth. Secondary directive, ensure human survival. Tertiary directive, prevent future invasions. Jinha nodded as the platform began to rise. I remember my directives, he said quietly. I've had 500 years to think about them. The platform accelerated, carrying Earth's last guardian toward the surface of a world that had forgotten what it meant to be free. Toward aliens who had never faced a human designed specifically to destroy them. The heavens had grown comfortable in humanity's absence from the galactic stage. They had forgotten the determination that had defined the species. They had forgotten the danger, Jinha would remind them. Harin wiped sweat from her forehead and continued to swing her pickaxe. The mining tunnel was hot and dusty. Her arms ached from 12 hours of work, but she didn't dare slow down. The Vorn overseers were always watching. She was 26 years old, though she looked older. Life in the labor camps aged humans quickly. Harin had been born here like her mother and grandmother before her. The stories they told of a time when humans ruled Earth seemed like fairy tales to most of the younger workers. Keep moving, a harsh voice commanded. Harin looked up to see a Vorn overseer approaching. The alien towered over the human workers, its crystalline body catching the dim light of the tunnel. Inside its transparent form, colored lights pulsed in patterns that showed its mood. Right now, those lights were an angry red. Production is too slow, the Vorn said, its voice like grinding glass. Central Command has increased quotas by 30%. The humans in the tunnel exchanged worried glances. They were already working at their limits. 30% more would mean deaths from exhaustion. We will try harder, said an old man named Quan, who served as the unofficial leader of their work group. His voice was respectful, his eyes downcast, but Haran could see the tension in his jaw. The Vorn overseer moved closer to Quan, looming over him. "See that you do. The last group that failed quotas was sent to the processing plants." The threat hung in the air. Everyone knew what happened at the processing plants. No one ever returned. Haran gripped her pickaxe tighter, anger burning in her chest. But what could they do? The Vorn were stronger, faster, nearly impossible to hurt with simple tools. And even if they somehow killed this overseer, there were thousands more. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The workers froze. The Vorn overseer's inner lights flickered with confusion. Seismic activity was not scheduled, it said, moving toward a communication panel on the wall. The trembling came again, stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then came a third shake, so powerful that several workers lost their footing. "Return to your quarters immediately," the Vorn commanded, its lights now pulsing with alarm. "This is—" The wall of the tunnel exploded inward. Rocks and dust filled the air. Haran covered her face, coughing. When she looked up, her eyes widened in shock. A man stood in the newly created hole. He was tall for a human, dressed in black, with strange lines visible beneath his skin. He looked around the tunnel, his eyes taking in the scene in an instant. The Vorn overseer recovered from its surprise and raised its control staff, a weapon that could deliver pain with a touch. "Unauthorized human. Submit for—" The man moved. Haran could barely follow what happened next. One moment the man was standing by the hole, the next he was directly in front of the Vorn. His hand shot out, grabbing the alien's crystalline neck. "You should have killed us all when you had the chance," the man said, his voice calm and cold. Then he squeezed. The Vorn's crystalline body cracked, then shattered. Fragments fell to the ground like broken glass, the colored lights inside fading to nothing. The tunnel fell silent. The workers stared in disbelief. No human had ever killed a Vorn with bare hands. It was supposed to be impossible. The stranger turned to face them. "My name is Jin Ha," he said. "I've come to free you." No one moved. No one spoke. The idea of freedom was so foreign that they couldn't process his words. Quan was the first to step forward. "How did you do that?" he asked, pointing at the shattered remains of the overseer. "How did you break it?" Jinha looked down at his hands. The lines beneath his skin glowed faintly blue. "I was made for this," he said simply. 500 years ago, when the Vorn first came, I was created to fight them. Haran found her voice. 500 years? That's impossible. No human lives that long. "I was kept in stasis," Jinha explained. "Frozen until needed. I should have been awakened when Earth fell, but something went wrong. The signal never came." His eyes showed a flash of pain. "I slept while humanity suffered." Quan studied Jinha closely. "There were stories," he said slowly, "passed down through generations, about special humans made to be weapons, the Guardians." He shook his head. "I thought they were just legends to give people hope." "Not legends," Jinha said. "But there should have been more of us. I was just the first successful one." He looked around at the stunned faces. "How many humans are in this camp?" "About 3,000, Haran answered. "But there are guards. Foreign soldiers with weapons." Jinha nodded. "Show me." Haran led him through the tunnel toward the main camp. As they walked, she studied him from the corner of her eye. He moved differently than any human she had ever seen. Fluid, precise, like a predator. The strange lines under his skin sometimes pulsed with light, similar to the Vorn but blue instead of red. "What are you exactly?" she finally asked. Jinha was quiet for a moment. "Human," he said at last, "but changed. My bones are reinforced with carbon fiber. My muscles are denser, stronger. My blood is full of nanites, tiny machines that repair damage and enhance my abilities." He flexed his hand. "I can run faster than any animal. I can lift several tons. I can see in the dark and hear a whisper from 100 yards away." Why didn't they make more like you? Quan asked from behind them. Why just one? The process killed most candidates, Jinha said grimly. And we ran out of time. The Vorn arrived earlier than expected. They reached the end of the tunnel and stopped at a heavy metal door. Beyond it lay the main camp and the Vorn guards. There are at least 30 soldiers out there, Harin warned. With energy weapons. Jinha nodded. Stay here. When it's safe, I'll come back for you. Before anyone could argue, he pushed the door open and stepped outside. Harin and Quan crowded around the small window in the door, watching in amazement. The Vorn guards noticed Jinha immediately. They raised their weapons, shouting commands to stop. Jinha ignored them. He walked calmly into the center of the camp. The first energy blast hit him directly in the chest. Harin gasped, expecting to see him fall. Instead, the blue lines beneath his skin flared brightly. Jinha staggered slightly, then continued walking. The Vorn fired again and again. Some shots Jinha dodged with impossible speed. Others hit him, but seemed to cause less damage each time, as if his body was adapting. Then he reached the first guard. What followed was unlike anything Harin had ever seen. Jinha moved through the Vorn soldiers like a storm. His hands broke crystalline bodies. His feet shattered limbs. He used the Vorn's own weapons against them, firing with perfect accuracy. In less than 2 minutes it was over. Jinha stood in the center of the camp, surrounded by broken crystal fragments. He wasn't even breathing hard. He turned back toward the tunnel door and waved for the humans to come out. Harin pushed the door open with shaking hands. The other workers followed, their faces showing disbelief and the first small spark of hope. The perimeter alarms have been triggered, Jinha told them. More Vorn will come soon. We need to move quickly. He pointed to the weapons he had collected, from the fallen guards. Anyone who can fight, take these. The rest, gather food and supplies. Where will we go? Someone asked. The Vorn control everything. Jinha's eyes gleamed with determination. Not for long, he said. I have a plan, but first I need to know everything about how the Vorn operate now. Their bases, their weaknesses, their command structure. Quan stepped forward. I can help with that. I've worked in their communication center. Jinha nodded. Good. And I need people willing to fight. Harin surprised herself by raising her hand. I'll fight, she said firmly. The memory of years of abuse and humiliation hardened her resolve. Just show me how. Jinha looked at her, then at the others who were also stepping forward. The Vorn think humans are weak, he said. They think we're just animals to be used and discarded. They're about to learn how wrong they are. For the first time in generations, the humans of Earth felt something new stirring in their hearts. Hope. 3 weeks after the liberation of the mining camp, Quan stood on a hilltop watching the sunrise. Below him, hidden in a dense forest, was the growing human resistance camp. What had started with 3,000 freed miners had grown to nearly 15,000 people from various labor camps across the region. Quan still found it hard to believe how quickly things had changed. For his entire life, the Vorn had seemed unbeatable. Their crystalline bodies, their advanced weapons, their complete control of Earth, all of it had made resistance seem impossible. Then Jinha had appeared. Quan turned as he heard someone climbing the hill behind him. Harin approached, carrying 2 bowls of hot food. You missed breakfast, she said, handing him one of the bowls. Jinha is calling a meeting soon. Quan nodded his thanks. Harin looked different now. They all did. Gone was the hunched posture of a lifetime laborer. She stood straight, her eyes clear and focused. A Vorn energy weapon hung at her hip. Any word from the eastern camps? Quan asked between bites. They're on their way. Another 2,000 people. Harin sat beside him on a fallen log. The Vorn are getting desperate. They've doubled patrols everywhere. Quan smiled grimly. Good. Let them waste resources chasing shadows. The strategy had been Jinha's idea. Small teams would strike Vorn outposts, free humans, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. The attacks happened in different places, sometimes hundreds of miles apart, making it impossible for the Vorn to predict where the resistance would appear next. "Have you noticed anything strange?" Harin asked suddenly, her voice lower. Quan glanced at her. "Strange how?" Harin hesitated. "About ourselves. About the people who've spent the most time with Jinha." Quan knew exactly what she meant. He had noticed it too, but had been afraid to mention it. "You're faster," he said simply. She nodded. "And stronger. I carried a supply crate yesterday that would have been too heavy for me before, and my eyesight is better." She looked at her hands. "Sometimes, in the right light, I think I can see lines under my skin. Like his, but fainter." Quan had seen the same faint lines appearing on his own skin. "It's spreading," he said. "Whatever they did to him, it's somehow passing to us." Before Harin could respond, a horn sounded from the camp below. The meeting was starting. They quickly finished their food and made their way down the hill. The center of the camp had been cleared with fallen logs arranged in a circle for people to sit. Jinha stood in the middle, looking as tireless as always. Beside him was a large map of what had once been called Asia. "Our scouts have confirmed it," Jinha began as people gathered around. "The Vorn planetary commander has called an emergency meeting of all regional overseers. They'll be gathering at the central command facility in 3 days." A murmur ran through the crowd. The central command facility, built on the ruins of what had once been Beijing, was the heart of Vorn control. On Earth, it was said to be impenetrable. "This is our chance," Jinha continued. "With all the overseers in one place, we can cut off the head of the snake." "But the facility is heavily guarded," someone objected. "They have thousands of soldiers, energy shields, aerial patrols." Jinha nodded. "Yes, which is why we're not going to attack it directly." He pointed to different locations on the map. "We're going to hit these power relay stations simultaneously. When they go down, the command facility will switch to backup power. That's when our main team will enter through the maintenance tunnels." Quan studied the map. He had worked in those tunnels during his time as a Vorn servant. "The tunnels are narrow," he said. "Only a small team could move through them undetected." "Exactly," Jinha agreed. "I'll lead the main strike team. Quan, you know the layout, you'll guide us. Harin, you've proven yourself with a weapon, you'll come too." Harin straightened, pride visible on her face. Jinha continued outlining the plan, assigning teams to different tasks. Some would create diversions. Others would be ready to extract freed prisoners. The largest group would target the power stations. As the meeting broke up and people moved to prepare, Jinha pulled Quan and Harin aside. "There's something else you need to know," he said quietly. "Something I haven't told the others yet." He led them to his private tent, where a small device sat on a makeshift table. It looked like a Vorn communication unit, but modified. "I intercepted a transmission from orbit," Jinha explained. "The Vorn have called for reinforcements from their homeworld. A battle fleet is on its way." Harin's eyes widened. "How many ships?" "At least 100. They'll be here in 2 weeks." Jinha's face was grim. "If we don't take control of Earth's orbital defenses before then, we'll lose everything we've gained." Quan felt cold fear in his stomach. "The orbital platforms are controlled from the central command facility." Jinha nodded. "That's why this mission can't fail." He looked at both of them intently. "There's something else you should know, something about yourselves." Harin and Quan exchanged glances. "We've noticed changes," Harin said carefully. "We're stronger, faster." "The nanites in my bloodstream," Jinha explained. "They're designed to replicate and improve their host. I bleed when I sweat, even when I exhale. Microscopic machines are released. They seek out compatible hosts." "Us," Quan said, understanding dawning. Jinha nodded. "Not everyone is compatible, maybe 1 in 20, but those who are..." He paused. "The changes will continue. You'll never be quite what I am. Your modifications are happening as adults, not from birth like mine. But you'll be more than ordinary humans." "Is it dangerous?" Harin asked. "It can be," Jinha admitted. "Your bodies might reject the nanites. There could be pain, fever, in rare cases worse. His eyes showed concern. I should have warned you, but I didn't realize it would happen so quickly. The nanites were never tested in field conditions. Quan thought about the strange sensations he'd been feeling, the increased awareness, the bursts of strength, the occasional pain in his joints. It's worth the risk, he decided. If it helps us fight the Vorn, I accept it. Harin nodded in agreement. We all would. You should tell the others. Jinha looked relieved. After the mission. For now, we focus on the command facility. The next 2 days were filled with preparation. Weapons were distributed. Teams rehearsed their roles. Maps were studied. Jinha worked tirelessly, training those who would fight, planning each detail of the attack. On the night before the mission, Quan couldn't sleep. He sat outside his tent looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Vorn reinforcements were coming. The thought should have terrified him, but instead, he felt a strange calm. Harin joined him, sitting silently for a while before speaking. Do you think we can really win? She asked. Not just this battle, but the war. Can we really take back Earth? Quan considered the question. A month ago, I would have said no. The Vorn were gods to us, untouchable, all-powerful. He looked at his hands, where the faint lines were now clearly visible beneath his skin. But now, yes, I think we can win. What changed your mind? Jinha, Quan said simply. Not just because he's strong, but because he reminded us of something important. He looked back at the stars. Humans don't give up. We adapt. We overcome. The Vorn thought they broke us, but they just forced us to evolve. Harin nodded slowly. My grandmother used to tell stories about old Earth, about how humans survived ice ages and plagues and wars, how we always found a way forward. Those weren't just stories, Quan said. That's who we are. The next morning, as dawn broke, the resistance camp was alive with activity. People moved with purpose, checking weapons, saying goodbyes, preparing for battle. Jinha gathered the strike team, 20 of the strongest, fastest humans, all showing signs of nanite enhancement. Their eyes were bright, their movements precise. They looked like warriors, not slaves. Today we take the first real step toward freedom, Jinha told them. Not just for us, but for all humans on Earth. The Vorn believe they've mastered this planet. They believe they've mastered us. His voice hardened. They're about to learn how wrong they are. As the teams moved out, heading toward their targets, Quan felt something stirring in his chest. It wasn't just the nanites changing his body. It was something older, something that had been sleeping in humanity for 500 years. The fire of defiance was awake again, and the heavens would soon tremble. The Vorn Central Command Facility rose like a crystal mountain from the ruins of what had once been Beijing. Its spires reached hundreds of feet into the sky, glittering in the morning sun. Force fields shimmered around its perimeter, and armed guards patrolled in perfect formation. Inside the highest tower, the planetary commander addressed the gathered overseers. The commander was larger than ordinary Vorn, its crystalline body more complex, with swirling patterns of light that showed its elevated status. The human resistance must be crushed immediately. The commander's voice resonated through the chamber. 3 supply depots destroyed, 5 labor camps emptied, 17 patrol units lost. This is unprecedented. The overseers shifted uncomfortably. None wanted to admit failure. The humans have never shown such coordination before, one overseer said. They fight differently now. Some move faster than our sensors can track. Impossible, another overseer objected. They are primitive, weak, their bodies break easily. The commander's inner lights pulsed with irritation. Something has changed. Our scientists are analyzing captured footage. Until we understand what we face, all overseers will remain here under central protection. Reinforcements from the homeworld will arrive in 13 days. Outside the facility, hidden in maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the city, Jinha led his strike team forward. Quan moved beside him, guiding them through the maze of passages. Harin and the others followed silently, their weapons ready. Thieu, Main power junction is 200 meters ahead, Quan whispered. Once we plant the charges, we'll have 5 minutes before detonation. Jinha nodded. The plan was simple but dangerous. When the power stations around the city were hit, the facility would switch to backup generators. During that brief transition, the force fields would flicker. That was their window to enter. Team 2 in position, a voice said through Jinha's communication device. Team 3 ready. Team 4 standing by. Begin countdown, Jinha ordered. Mark. The team moved faster now, reaching the power junction. Harin and 2 others placed explosive charges while Jinha and Quan watched the tunnel entrances. Charges. Set, Harin reported. Fall back to position Alpha, Jinha commanded. Prepare for entry. They retreated to a larger tunnel junction where they could access the facility's lower levels. Now they waited, weapons ready, bodies tense. 10 seconds, Jinha counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The tunnel shook as explosions echoed across the city. The lights flickered, then went out completely. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows on the walls. Now, Jinha ordered. The team surged forward, racing through the tunnels toward the facility's foundation. They reached a heavy door that would normally be locked by electronic systems. Jinha grabbed it and pulled, his enhanced muscles straining. The metal groaned, then gave way. They entered the lowest level of the Vorn facility. Alarms wailed throughout the building. Confused Vorn technicians looked up in shock as the humans burst in. Jinha moved first, faster than the eye could follow. 2 Vorn shattered before they could raise weapons. Harin and the others spread out, firing captured Vorn weapons with deadly accuracy. The control center is 40 levels up, Quan said, checking a facility map on the wall. The elevators are locked down during emergencies. We climb, Jinha said simply, moving toward a maintenance shaft. As they fought their way upward, level by level, the Vorn resistance grew stronger. Elite guards with heavy weapons blocked their path. But Jinha's team was no longer just fighting. With weapons, they were fighting with their enhanced bodies. Harin leaped over a barricade, covering a distance no normal human could jump. Quan moved with blinding speed, disarming a Vorn guard before it could fire. Others on the team showed similar abilities, the nanite enhancement spreading through compatible humans. On the command level, the planetary commander received urgent reports. Humans have breached level 22, a security officer reported, its crystalline form pulsing with alarm. They are different, stronger, faster. Impossible, the commander insisted. Deploy all guards. Seal the command level. An overseer approached, its lights showing fear. The orbital defense controls must be protected. If the humans gain access, they will not, the commander cut in. No human can operate our technology. Even if they reach this level, they cannot harm our control systems. At that moment, on level 35, Jinha's team faced their hardest challenge yet. A squad of elite Vorn guards blocked the final approach to the command level. These guards wore armor that enhanced their already formidable bodies. We can't break through directly, Harin said, taking cover as energy blasts hit the wall beside her. There are too many. Jinha studied the situation, his enhanced mind processing options at incredible speed. We don't need to fight them all, he decided. We just need to reach the command center. He pointed to an air circulation shaft. That runs directly to the upper levels. Quan examined the shaft entrance. It's too small for most of us. But not for me, Harin said. She was the smallest of the team, and the nanite enhancement had made her more flexible. I can make it. Jinha nodded. Take this. He handed her a small device. It will override their systems planted on the main control console. What about the rest of you? Harin asked. We'll keep them busy, Jinha said grimly. Go. As the team laid down covering fire, Harin slipped into the narrow shaft and began to climb. The metal walls pressed against her from all sides, but she pushed upward, driven by determination. Below, Jinha led a fierce attack against the Vorn guards. The battle was brutal. 2 of the human fighters fell, then 3 more. But they kept fighting, kept pushing forward, drawing all attention away from Harin's mission. In the command center, the planetary commander was receiving increasingly desperate reports. The humans have breached level 38. Security. Teams on level 40 are not responding. Something is moving in the ventilation system. The commander's inner lights flashed with rage. Lock down all systems, prepare emergency protocols. Too late. The ventilation grate in the ceiling burst open, and Harin dropped into the command center. Before the stunned Vorn could react, she rolled across the floor and reached the main control console. Stop her, the commander roared. Vorn guards fired, but Harin moved with enhanced speed, dodging the blasts. She slammed Jinha's device onto the console. It attached with a magnetic click and began to glow. System override initiated, an automated voice announced. The commander lunged toward Harin, its crystalline body radiating fury. Harin stood her ground, facing the massive alien without fear. You are too late, the commander hissed. Our fleet approaches. Earth will be cleansed of your kind once and for all. Harin smiled. Look again. The main view screen in the command center changed, showing Earth's orbit. The massive defense platforms, built by the Vorn to protect their conquered world, were moving, reorienting themselves. What is happening? An overseer cried out. We're taking back what's ours, Harin said. The doors to the command center burst open. Jinha stood there, his body showing signs of battle, but his eyes fierce with triumph. Behind him came Quan and the surviving team members. It's done, Harin told him. The orbital platforms are under our control. Jinha nodded and turned to face the planetary commander. 500 years ago, you came to our world. You thought us weak. You enslaved us, you tried to break us. His voice was calm but carried throughout the room. That was your mistake. The commander's form pulsed with hatred. You are nothing. Animals playing with technology you cannot understand. Our reinforcements will arrive, and this rebellion will be crushed. Your reinforcements will never reach Earth, Jinha said. He nodded to Harin, who activated a command sequence. On the view screen, the orbital platforms powered up, their weapons charging. A message was broadcasting on all frequencies, reaching far into space. To the approaching Vorn fleet, Jinha's voice echoed across the stars. Earth is now under human control. Any ship entering our solar system will be destroyed. This is your only warning. In the silence that followed, the planetary commander's lights dimmed with the first flicker of doubt. You would not dare, it said. You need us, our technology, our knowledge. We need nothing from you, Jinha replied. Humanity survived before you came. We will thrive after you leave. Quan stepped forward, addressing the gathered overseers. You have 2 choices. Surrender and help us transition peacefully or face destruction. Choose quickly. The command center fell silent as the Vorn realized the truth. The balance of power had shifted. The slaves had become masters, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the approaching Vorn fleet received Earth's message. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the crystalline beings felt something new. Fear. The heavens trembled as humanity reclaimed its place among the stars. 1 year had passed since the day humans reclaimed Earth. The Vorn Central Command Facility, once a symbol of alien domination, now served as humanity's headquarters. Its crystal towers still gleamed in the sunlight, but the flags that flew from them were human designs, symbols of freedom and rebirth. Jinha stood on the highest balcony looking out over the recovering city. Where once there had been only labor camps and mining operations, now there were gardens and new buildings. Humans walked freely, their heads held high. Quite a view, Harin said, joining him at the railing. The past year had changed her dramatically. The nanite enhancement had fully integrated with her body. She moved with fluid grace and the lines beneath her skin were now clearly visible, a badge of honor among the enhanced. I never thought I'd see this, Jinha admitted. When I went into stasis, we were losing badly. I expected to wake to a war, not a 500-year occupation. And now? Harin asked. Jinha smiled slightly. Now we have a different kind of war to fight, the war of rebuilding. Below them, in what had once been the Vorn's main assembly hall, representatives from human settlements across Earth were gathering. It was the first global council in 5 centuries, the beginning of a unified human government. The Galactic Council representatives will arrive tomorrow, Harin reminded him. Are you ready? Jinha's expression turned serious. As ready as I can be. This will be humanity's introduction to the wider galaxy. Everything depends on making the right impression. The Galactic Council, a union of 200 spacefaring civilizations, had observed Earth's liberation with shock and concern. The sudden defeat of the Vorn, a founding member of the Council, had sent ripples of alarm through the galaxy. Now, they were sending a delegation to assess the situation. Quan is waiting for us in the briefing room, Harin said. The final reports from the orbital platforms are in. They left the balcony and walked through corridors that blended Vorn crystal architecture with new human additions. Workers nodded respectfully as they passed. To many, Jinha was more than a leader. He was a symbol of humanity's rebirth. Indy. The briefing room. Quan stood before a large holographic display of Earth's solar system. Like Harin, he showed the physical changes of nanite enhancement. Taller, stronger, with the characteristic lines visible beneath his skin. But the most notable change was in his confidence. The former mining slave now commanded Earth's defense forces. The last Vorn ships left orbit this morning, Quan reported. According to the surrender agreement, they've withdrawn completely from our solar system. Jinha nodded. After their defeat at Earth, the Vorn had agreed to surprisingly reasonable terms. They would release all human slaves from their other conquered worlds. They would provide technical knowledge to help Earth rebuild. In return, humans would not use their newfound power to attack Vorn territories. And the returning humans? Jinha asked. The first transport ships are landing now, Quan said, adjusting the hologram to show Earth's main spaceport. 5,000, today, more coming weekly. Most haven't seen Earth in generations. Jinha felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. When the Vorn conquered Earth, they had taken millions of humans as slaves to other worlds. Now these people were returning home, but to a world their ancestors had only told them about in stories. What about the nanite situation? Jinha asked, turning to a different topic. Harin touched a control, changing the display to show medical data. Approximately 20% of the human population shows compatibility. The enhancement process is stable in most cases. We've had few rejections since we refined the transfer protocol. The spread of nanite enhancement had been both a blessing and a challenge. Those who were compatible gained strength, speed, and longevity. Those who weren't remained normal humans, creating a potential divide in the population. We need to be careful, Jinha cautioned. We can't create 2 separate species of humans. The enhanced must serve the whole, not become a ruling class. Quan and Harin nodded in agreement. This was a frequent topic of discussion among the leadership. The GI council meeting is starting, Quan noted, checking the time. We should go. They made their way to the assembly hall, where hundreds of human representatives had gathered. The room buzzed with dozens of languages as people from across Earth met, many for the first time. Some wore simple clothes from labor camps, others wore the uniforms of the resistance. All shared the same look of determination. Jinha took his place at the speaker's platform. He had never wanted to be a leader, but circumstances had thrust him into the role. As Earth's first guardian, the only survivor of the original enhancement program, he carried a unique authority. Representatives of Earth, he began, his voice carrying through the hall. Tomorrow we meet the Galactic Council for the first time as a free world. This is a crucial moment for our future. The room fell silent, all eyes on Jinha. For 500 years, the galaxy knew humans only as slaves, as a conquered species useful only for labor. Tomorrow, we show them who we truly are. He paused, looking across the faces before him, faces filled with hope and determination. But we must decide what message we send. Do we present ourselves as conquerors, using our control of Vorn technology to demand our place? Or do we offer partnership, showing that humans can be both strong and wise? A representative from what had once been Africa stood. The Vorn showed no mercy to us. Why should we show mercy to others? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Another representative, an older woman, rose. Because we are not Vorn. If we act as they did, we become what we hated. Debate erupted across the hall. Some called for aggressive expansion, arguing that humanity needed to secure its position through strength. Others advocated for caution and diplomacy. Jinha let the discussion continue, watching carefully. This was democracy reborn, something humans had not experienced in centuries. Finally, he raised his hand for silence. I have lived 2 lives, he said quietly. I was born in a world where humans reached for the stars with hope and curiosity. I awakened in a world where that hope had been crushed. The hall was completely still now, everyone listening intently. What made humans special was never our strength or our technology. It was our ability to face the impossible and find a way forward. It was our capacity to learn from mistakes, even terrible ones. Jinha looked down at his hands, at the glowing lines that marked him as different. The nanites that changed me were created for war, but they can build as easily as they can destroy. This is the choice we all face now. He looked up again, his gaze sweeping the hall. I propose that we approach the Galactic Council not as conquerors, demanding respect, but as a people offering a new beginning. We will be strong. No one will ever enslave humanity again. But we will also be wise. Slowly, heads began to nod. The mood in the room shifted. The Vorn thought they understood humans, Jinha continued. They saw our physical weakness and thought it defined us. They didn't understand that humanity's true strength lies in our ability to adapt, to overcome, to transform challenges into opportunities. He straightened, his voice growing stronger. Tomorrow, the galaxy will remember what it means to be human, not through fear, but through the power of our example. The assembly ended with a vote. Jinha's approach won overwhelming support. Earth would present itself to the galaxy as a strong but peaceful world, seeking cooperation rather than domination. The next morning, Jinha, Haran, and Quan stood at Earth's new spaceport as the Galactic Council delegation arrived. Their ship was massive, designed to accommodate representatives of many different species. Ready? Haran asked quietly. Jinha nodded. As ready as Earth is. The ship's ramp lowered, and the delegates emerged, a stunning variety of life forms. Some walked on multiple legs. Others floated. Some were nearly transparent, while others were covered in scales or fur. Leading them was a tall, ancient-looking being with skin like polished wood and eyes that held the wisdom of millennia. This was the Council Elder, one of the oldest living beings in the known galaxy. Jinha stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Elder, on behalf of Earth and humanity, I welcome you to our home. The Elder studied Jinha with those ancient eyes. We have watched your world with great interest, human. The defeat of the Vorn was unexpected. Many in the council fear what this means. Jinha nodded. I understand their concern. Change is often frightening. But I hope to show you that humanity seeks not conquest, but cooperation. Bold words, the Elder said. Yet your actions have shaken the galaxy. In 1 year, you have done what no species has accomplished in 10,000 years. You have broken the Vorn Collective. We did what we had to do to survive, Jinha replied simply. Now we must do what is right to thrive. The Elder's expression was unreadable. And what does humanity consider right? Jinha gestured to the rebuilt city around them. To build rather than destroy. To learn rather than conquer. To remember our past without being imprisoned by it. He met the Elder's gaze directly. 500 years ago, humanity reached for the stars with hope. We wish to do so again. Not as conquerors but as explorers and partners. For a long moment the elder was silent. Then slowly, a smile spread across that ancient face. Perhaps, the elder said, the heavens were right to tremble when humanity awoke. Not from fear, but from anticipation. As the delegation moved toward the waiting conference hall, Harin leaned close to Jinha. Do you think they'll accept us? Jinha watched the diverse group of beings, representatives of civilizations far older than human history. They'll have to, he said quietly. Because humanity is no longer just a footnote in galactic history. We've reminded the heavens what we truly are. And what is that? Quan asked. Jinha smiled, looking up at the sky where stars were just becoming visible in the fading daylight. The species that refuses to stay defeated, the people who turn impossibility into opportunity, the guardians of a fire that can never be extinguished. The fire of humanity had been dampened for 500 years, but now it burned brighter than ever, illuminating not just Earth, but the stars beyond, and the heavens would never forget again.